بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. Inshallah ta'ala, today we want to finish the rulings and the ahkam on the pregnant women and the nursing mothers. Yesterday we covered all the opinions of the scholars. Today we're going to go into depth of their dalil and proof and the opinions of those who have disagreed with them, and to give the final verdict on it as to follow which opinion, inshallah. Now, just to recap, yesterday we said that all scholars agreed that a pregnant woman and a nursing mother, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave her the absolute okay to break her fast if there is a need. So that we covered. What do we mean by if there is a need? A need means that she is going through challenges and difficulties more than the norm. It's abnormal. It's really difficult. It's not just inconvenient. Or we said it is absolutely the advice of her physician, a Muslim physician that knows the nature and the culture of the Islamic culture, that is, and they know that the type of fasting that we do as Muslims would hurt the pregnancy or the baby in the mother's tummy. So we covered that also, and now how would she make up? The makeup differed. It's not whether she's able to break the fast or not. Okay, so now, inshallah ta'ala, we have summarized that into 5 opinions. First opinion, we said that she has to make up those missed days, and there is no fidya on her to pay. And in general, we have brought that this is the opinion that the Hanafi madhab and also Sayyidina Ali bin Abi Talib adopts. In general, we're just bringing some names that we can just refer as reference to. But there are many others that also follow this opinion, what have you. But to make it simple on you, so we do not specify, the Jumhur, the majority of the scholars follow this opinion. So let's say the opinions of the majority of scholars, the 4 scholars, believe that the way that she would make it up for a nursing mother and a pregnant woman is to make up the missed days. So we're just going to make that simple, inshallah. Now, of course, in depth, the dalil and the proof for that. The dalil is the general ayah that we discussed yesterday. يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون. That applies to everybody in society, the Muslims. Now, the thing that I want to share with you today is that they also said that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that فمن كان منكم مريضا أو على سفر فعدة من أيام أخر وعلى الذين يطيقونه فدية طعام مسكين. So let's talk about this because this is important. This is the following verse. Remember, there's right after each other, verse 183 and then 184. Okay, so now the scholars say that this verse, وَعَلَى الَّذِينَ يُطِيقُونَهُ, those who are able to fast, وَعَلَى الَّذِينَ يُطِيقُونَهُ فِدْيَةٌ طَعَامُ مِسْكِينٍ فَمَنْ تَطَوَّعَ خَيْرًا فَهُوَ خَيْرٌ لَهُ. That's one part of it. وَأَن تَصُومُوا خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ إِن كُنتُمْ تَعْلَمُونَ. Now, the verse in general says that Siyam and fasting is prescribed upon you like it was prescribed on the previous nations, so you can attain taqwa. Second, those who are on travel or feel sick, they are exempt from it, and then they will make it up. فمن كان منكم مريضا أو على سفر فعدة من أيام أخر. Later on they will make it up. وعلى الذين يطيقونه, those who are able to fast, فدية طعام مسكين. It says those who are able to fast but they decide not to fast, then they need to pay fidya. The scholars, majority of scholars say that this verse is mansukha, meaning that this verse is no longer this no longer applies this hukum, this ruling, and it's basically abolished. It's not being practiced. The reason why they say that is because this was the initial ruling when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala demanded fasting. This was something new to the people, and they were not really used to quit on eating and drinking even during summertime and what have you. So it was more of a training. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that you need to fast, but if you're not able to fast, then give fidya instead. That was the initial ruling, like similar to the khamr. Initial, don't drink while you go, when you decide to go to the masajid, try to avoid it, stay away from it, it's not good. And then absolutely fajtanibuh, just it is prohibited on you to drink khamr. So you will know why I'm discussing this later on, because we're going to use that inshallah ta'ala. So let's go now. There are many dalil and proof for the first opinion that says the nursing mother and the pregnant women need to make up the days later on. So let's not dwell on it, because that's the majority of the scholars and it has all the opinion on it. Now let's go to the second opinion, which is the one that says only fidya. She does not need to make up those days. Only just feed the poor, one poor, one Muslim poor person per day, per missed day. That's it. Okay, so what's the proof for this opinion? We said this opinion is so popular to be adopted by mainly Sayyidina Ibn Abbas, the cousin of Prophet Muhammad SAW, and in a narration that also Sayyidina Ibn Umar adopts that opinion as well. And there, first of all, let's focus more on the Sahabi Sayyidina Ibn Abbas, the cousin of Prophet ﷺ. So you would say, okay, what about the proof for that? And he is one of the top scholars. To him, the ayah وَعَلَى الَّذِينَ يُطِيقُونَهُ فِدْيَةٌ طَعَامُ مِسْكِينٍ, those who are able to fast and they decide not to fast, then they can pay fidya instead. To him, it's not an abolished verse. It's not a verse that lost its ruling. It's not a mansukh ayah anymore. No, to him, no. It is a muhkam. It is absolutely intact. The ayah still intact and still serves to give the ruling. And he says this ayah pertains exclusively to those elders, the one that we covered, that cannot fast, and also includes a pregnant woman and a nursing mother. So that's why he differed with his opinion, because he did not consider this ayah to be a mansukh. Okay, now the other thing that opinion doubts. وَلِأَنَّ فِطْرَ الْحَامِلِ وَالْمُرْضِعِ. Now he says that the nursing mother and the pregnant women, they broke their fast because of a rukhsa. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed them. It's an allowance. It's not because Allah allowed it for them. So because of that, Allah is not going to ask them to make it up again. So he said, this is a special allowance. This is not something that they did it for convenience or what have you. It's not like the musafir, the traveler, that has the right to break his fast, even if it's not a challenging travel, even if it's not a difficult travel or what have you. He has the right to, if he decide to break the fast. It's not uh, so it's not a privilege, but rather it is something that she was allowed to break the fast, so she can just be compared to a person that is or has a chronic illness. Why did he compare a pregnant woman and a nursing mother like a person who has a chronic illness, not a regular illness? Because if he said a regular illness, then the ruling of regular illness would be to make it up later on. But he said it is similar to a person with chronic illness because he compared a pregnant woman and a nursing mother to have this tendency to always be pregnant, nursing. By the time she finishes nursing, she most likely will be pregnant again, and what have you, for many years of her life. So he said, this is mashaqqa, this is really challenging and difficult. So it has to be compared to a chronic illness, not to a regular illness that someone will get out of it in few days or few weeks. That's his opinion. So, and that's the one that I want you to focus on it as studying this with this class. We are going to now the answer to that. Basically, as we said, the majority of scholars say no, this ayah is mansukh. It is abrogated, it is abolished, it's not in ruling anymore, it's not intact anymore. Allah replaced it with the following ayah, the one after. شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى شهر فليصمه. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says now he's giving the complete ruling like he did with the khamr, the final ruling. Those of you that actually come to witness the month of Ramadan, they need to fast. فَمَنْ شَهِدَ مِنْكُمُ الشَّهْرَ فَلْيَصُمْهُ. It's a command, فَلْيَصُمْ. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave the exception only to the traveler and the sick person, did not mention the pregnant woman and what have you. So where do we bring the pregnant woman and what have you? It's from the hadith of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So that's the way that they answered. They said, no, this verse is not in session anymore. It's not intact anymore. It's a mansukh. Now, the third opinion, what's their proof? The one that said that it is only or the third opinion, that is inshallah ta'ala. Let me see if I just missed any of the notes. So we talked about the compare with the elders. Okay, so again, the analogy also, they said you cannot compare it to an elder person because the elder person with a chronic disease will never get out of that. That's why it's called chronic. It's terminal. But the pregnant and nursing lady is different, and you cannot say and assume that she will be pregnant all her life and nursing all her life, because some people don't even go through that. They go through maybe just one time um, one-time pregnancy or two-time pregnancy in their life. So it's not like it's a common thing that all women. It's across the board. Remember, this is not a preference. They're saying that you cannot tell the women that you have the choice not to make up the day. So just imagine if she just had one pregnancy in her life. Still, the ruling according to this team of scholars that she doesn't have to make up the days. So remember, they're saying no. Let's put the ruling, and then we will see who to apply it to. Now, of course, the same opinion that says only fidya, only to give fidya, they go more in depth, and they say that again. We replied back to that, and they say that Allah gave her allowance. They say this was a temporary allowance; it's not a terminal allowance, and what have you. Um, then they said the other scholars said you cannot compare a pregnant woman and a nursing mother to an elder person that has chronic disease. Why? Because they said if we use the same verse that you used, وَعَلَى الَّذِينَ يُطِيقُونَهُ فِدْيَةٌ طَعَامُ مِسْكِينٍ, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues to say, وَأَن تَصُومُوا خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ. If you would to fast, it's better for you. So how would that work if it's a terminal illness? It's not. And they said that the verse is not, it's not pertain, it does not pertain to the elder people or to the people that have chronic diseases. Neither does it pertain to a pregnant woman, nor a nursing mother. They are very adamant that this verse does not pertain to these groups. Do not use it as a dalil and proof. It only pertains to people that had received the revelation of fasting, and they were giving the flexibility to fast or not to fast. If they don't fast, then they pay fidya. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala abolished that rule, the verse after, and said no more. فَمَنْ شَهِدَ مِنْكُمُ الشَّهْرَ فَلْيَصُمْ. It's obligated on all of you except those who have excuses that we talked about before. And we will talk about those who are prevented from fasting in the next session. That should summarize the two major opinion, and that's why I took my time with it. The rest of it we will go inshallah quickly on it, but this should summarize the summary of the two major opinions. Many details on those back and forth of those two. So inshallah ta'ala, maybe one day we will actually run a detailed, like a real detailed session of every proof and what have you. But this is just for the class today, for the video, inshallah. So now the third opinion, the proof for those who said that they need to make it up and also to feed the poor people on each missed days. Now they said they need to make it up because, again, of the opinion of the scholars that said she needs to make it up. So it's the same proof, right? The same proof. Now they said about giving a fidya is, so they're saying she needs to make it up because of that proof, but they added that she needs to pay fidya. Why? Because they said some of the Sahaba actually ruled that way and they understand the deen, and we're going to follow their opinions, because they would not say that for her to pay fidya unless they know that Prophet ﷺ said it. Of course, that's like more of an ijtihad, a judgment. The majority of scholars don't rule that way, and they said unless there is a straightforward dalil that says that she needs to pay fidya, then we cannot. Because maybe some Sahaba said out of preference, just they preferred for her to pay as well with the makeup. So we talked about this. Now the so we answered. This is the answer. Basically, is that the majority of scholars says there has to be a straightforward dalil and proof to demand and to mandate fidya on her. Because remember, this is a hukum shari. So to tell her that you need to make it up and you need to pay on each day fidya. You need to come up with proof stronger than just saying some of the Sahaba said it that way, because the ayah of the Quran is stronger, right? Because Prophet Muhammad and the hadith, the straight wording of Prophet Muhammad that we learned yesterday in the video, in the previous video, that Prophet said, "Inna Allah Azza wa Jal wada'a an al-musafir shatra al-salah." Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala dropped upon the traveler half of the prayer, meaning to shorten the prayer. وعن المسافر والحامل والمرضع الصوم. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala dropped the fasting from a traveler, from a pregnant woman, from a nursing mother. Just dropped it. So that's the dalil that it's dropped. And then the other dalil will say, فَعِدَّةٌ مِّنْ أَيَّامٍ أُخَرَ. Let them, make it up later on. Now, to bring an extra and to say, and she needs to pay fidya, then that needs a dalil. Now, the fourth opinion that says she doesn't need to do anything, no fidya, no makeup days, nothing. They said it's an allowance Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave her, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't say uh, um, anything about making up or doing anything. It just drops because they literally, and remember we said Imam Ibn Hazm took that, because Imam Ibn Hazm is from the Zahiri school, which is that he is strictly by the text, because Prophet Muhammad said, وعن المسافر والحامل والمرضع يعني ووضع الصوم عن المسافر والحامل والمرضع, because the hadith says إن الله عز وجل وضع عن المسافر شطر الصلاة وعن المسافر والحامل والمرضع الصوم. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala dropped it. So he understood Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala dropped it. No makeup days and no fidya. Of course, the rebuttal and the answer of the majority of scholars of what we have discussed, they brought no, it doesn't stop on the hadith. Remember, the ayah says فَعِدَّةٌ مِّنْ أَيَّامٍ أُخَرَ, there is, and it has to have, and they want to go more into it. That's the rebuttal. No, we don't stop right there on the hadith. We have to have the hadith aligns with the ayah, with the next ayah. So their methodology of extracting a hukum and a ruling doesn't stop at one ayah or one hadith and looking at only hadith from one angle, but rather they bring all the ayat in the Quran, all the hadith, they bring them together and they try first to make them coincide with each other and to agree with each other and to extract the ruling from each other and to not have them contradict with each other. And the only time that they would have to do tarjih or to give preference to one over the other is when they find absolute conflict between the two. But this is not the case here, so that's the rebuttal on that. Now, the last opinion, which is the fifth opinion, that she will have to make it up. So the hamil, the pregnant women, will make up the days, the missed days. That's it. But then they said the nursing mother would make up the missed days and pay fidya. So they separated between the pregnant women and between the nursing mother. So they said the reason behind that, that's their argument and their reasoning is that they said because a pregnant woman, she did not fast because she either feared on herself, on her health, or the health of her baby who is within her body. So it's one cause that allowed her to break the fast, and she needs to make it up only. There is no fidya on that. However, the nursing mother uh, needs to make it up and pay fidya, because the reason why she dropped fasting was not because of something that really caused fear on her health or what have you, but just more of making sure that the baby gets fed well and what have you. And because the baby is external now, it's not something within her body and what have you, and also because she was able to hire another nursing mother to nurse the baby for her, and she did not have to go through fasting and what have you and whatever. These are just reasoning, and the majority of scholars rebuttal and say, no, why do we need to go through that assumption? She hires somebody to breastfeed her child. She doesn't want to hire anybody. She wants to nurse her own child herself. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Prophet ﷺ allowed that for her to break her fast. So the majority of scholars said there is absolutely no difference between the pregnant woman and a nursing mother. And they also said there is absolutely no difference between a traveler, a pregnant woman, and a nursing mother, because Prophet ﷺ brought them together. Remember the hadith. And he said, as of the traveler, a pregnant woman, and a nursing mother, Allah dropped the fast, meaning that Allah allowed them to break the fast. And then the ayah of Surah Al Baqarah will give us the ruling that they need to make it up later on. فَعِدَّةٌ مِّنْ أَيَّامٍ أُخَرَ. That's how you combine them together. Now, let us conclude. What is it that we're going to adopt in the course here? So let's put it together, inshallah ta'ala. We are going to adopt the opinion of the majority of the scholars that a pregnant woman and a nursing mother, if somebody asks you what does she need to do, somebody just brings you and asks, I missed one Ramadan, last Ramadan, and I'm nursing now. What do I do? Do I pay fidya? In 1 second, think of what I told you and what would be the answer according to the majority. Just a thought. So the answer should be, according to the majority, she needs to make up those days. That's it. If she's nursing now, when she stops nursing, and then she will, inshallah, make them up later on. They will not assume, oh, there will be a different pregnancy and different nursing. No. The ruling would be for her to make it up, and they would stop at that. Then if there are extra external special cases, they will talk about it. Now, that's the ruling of majority, is that we tell anybody that tells us what's the ruling on a pregnant woman and a nursing mother that missed a whole Ramadan. We tell them she needs to make up those missed days. Then another question would come. What's the ruling on, and remember, if it's a pregnant woman or a nursing mother, same ruling. We do not differentiate between the two, according to the majority of scholars. Then we are going to adopt the opinion of the minority only in one special case. If somebody comes and asks, so according to the first opinion, what if it's 2 Ramadan? Still she needs to make it up. What if it's 3 Ramadan? Still she needs to make it up. What if it's 5 Ramadans? Still. What if it's 10 Ramadans? Still she needs to make it up. That's the ruling of the majority. Now, with the minority that says she doesn't need to make up the days and only pay fidya, when we will use this opinion? We will use this opinion nowadays if honestly we have a case where we have somebody that has really accumulated, really went into this case, accumulated so many Ramadans, and now she knows herself and she knows that it's very difficult for her to fast all these like 5, 6, 7, 8 months of Ramadan. It's overlapping over 2 Ramadans, 3 Ramadans, and she knows her body and herself. And going through many fasting days will affect so many things in her life. Some people go through a very difficult mood when they fast. They become very grudgy, they become very agitated, and they become very angry, and they become very tempered, and they become very short tempered. Allahu alam, Allah created us differently. So we would tell that because you know yourself and you know that it is really truly difficult on you to fast and to make up all these many days, then alhamdulillah we have this opinion that we tell her, okay, you don't need to make up all these many days, but you need to pay fidya on each day that you missed. And starting from this point, so let's say you missed 3 Ramadan, 3 months, and now you paid fidya, you're done. Now, starting from this point on, if it happens again, you need to make sure that you be conscious of making up those days as they come and what have you. So that how we would conclude overall. So we would say we are following the majority of scholars of giving a general rule of making up the missed days for a pregnant woman and a nursing mother, and we do not differentiate the difference, and we do not say for the nursing mother to make up the days and also pay fidya. However, these are the rulings now. Remember, ruling of what the majority says, and when we will use the opinion of the minority only for special cases that we believe it's very legit and the woman knows herself and cannot make up those days, because we don't want her to lose hope and what have you and always live in all her life feeling in absolute guilt that she is sinful and she's going against Allah and she cannot fast and what have you. No, we want to tell her, inshallah, alhamdulillah, there are opinions, and there is an opinion that allows you to drop the fast and to pay for those mistakes. Now, those are the rulings. What's the preference? The preference, we say, for the lady that uh, paid fidya for all the missed days that she had. Let's say she had 2 missed Ramadans and she ended up taking the opinion of paying fidya only, and she paid fidya and she did not make up those days. And after a few years, alhamdulillah, that's it. They decided, her and her husband, that she's not going to get pregnant anymore. There is no issues of pregnancy anymore or nursing anymore or what have you. And alhamdulillah, her health went back all strong and what have you. Then we would give a fatwa and we would say, to get out of the disagreement of the scholars, it would be very good for her to make up those days. Make up those days as inshallah ta'ala and a preference, as a preference, just to avoid the disagreement, but not as a must, not as an obligation, because she already paid the fidya with the fatwa and opinion that this should be sufficient enough, but more of a preference to avoid the disagreement of the scholars. If someone is able to do it from the beginning and to avoid all the disagreement of the scholars, our answer, and I will end the class with this. Again, I'm going to give you a few seconds to think. How would you give an answer to basically cover all the opinions that we talked about? Just think about it really quick. Again, it has to do with the preference. So the answer would be is that if she's able, inshallah ta'ala, she would make up the days, and she would, for the nursing mother, she would pay, as she make up the days, she would pay the fidya as well, just to make sure that she covered it all, and that would cover all the opinions basically when she end up making up the days and paying the fidya as well. then that should cover it all. That's only a preference if she's able. If she's not able, alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Ghafoor and Rahim. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you all and accept from you all, and make you among those who are in higher rank because of your knowledge. Allahumma ameen. جزاكم الله خيرا وبارك الله فيكم. سبحانك الله بحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Inshallah, I'll see you tomorrow. We're done with this, and we will inshallah start the new session of things that would not allow a person to fast. Yani it's haram to fast, not an allowance to break the fast, but it becomes haram to fast, and things that would invalidate the fast itself, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.